the players looked yesterday in practice after the bye week?
I thought they looked energized, and they came back with effort, good attitude, and really it's a good question, Rich, because right now there's no question that Iowa has the momentum because they had a fantastic win over a very tough Michigan State team in double overtime, and our team needs to understand that it's one thing to have a bye week, but it's a whole nother thing to be playing a team like Iowa, and we've got to try to go out here and practice and be precise and practice hard with great effort every day and try to equal out that momentum. And I thought yesterday was a decent start.
Mark Brennan of Fight On State here with our weekly Bill O'Brien press conference wrap, joined as always by Greg Pickel of FOS, does some recruiting stuff for us, does some football stuff, some wrestling, some women's hoops, a little bit of everything. But obviously today, Penn State back after the bye week. What were some of the things that jumped out to you from Bill O'Brien's press conference?
Yeah, it was pretty run-of-the-mill. A lot of coach speak from O'Brien today, but he did take time to note the fact that Bill Belton was back on the field and healthy. I still don't know how much that means. We'll see of him after the Northwestern game where he didn't get a lot of carries, but maybe that was more of an injury thing and that he's now healed up and will get more carries, at least as much of productivity allows. He talked about the atmosphere at Kinnick and what he expects going in there, and he just expects it to be a very hostile place. Again, a lot of coach speak that saying they're a very strong physical team, which they are. But yeah, a lot of just coach speak and generalities today. I didn't really take a whole lot of introspective stuff away this week as opposed to some other weeks.
Yeah, Penn State obviously traveling out to Iowa this weekend. 4-game winning streak for the Nittany Lions. Iowa coming off of a nice win over Michigan State. I mean, Michigan State played real poorly at the end of that game, but give Iowa credit, as the Hawkeyes often seem to do under Kirk Ferentz, getting the job done at crunch time. That gave Bill O'Brien a real opportunity because Iowa, generally speaking, had not been playing all that well this year. But that gave him an opportunity to say, hey, listen, Penn State may be coming off of a bye week, but Iowa's a team with all the momentum. And really, to get any road win in the Big Ten is good, even as much as Michigan State may be struggling to go and beat the Spartans in a game that Iowa was struggling the whole time. I guess you would really have to say that Iowa does have momentum. The only other real injury news that came out, Bill O'Brien talked today that Naeem Wortman, the freshman linebacker, has started to practice again. I think he had a little bit of a knee issue, but they still haven't decided whether or not Wortman is going to play or redshirt or what he's going to do. He spent a lot of time talking about the atmosphere at Kinnick, and this is, for all the talk that Bill O'Brien had about what a great atmosphere Virginia was in Illinois, this is where it gets serious because this is a great, great atmosphere. Fans are loud. They can be a little bit on the mean-spirited side sometimes, so it's going to be interesting to see how Penn State handles this. With all due respect to Virginia, that's like a high school stadium compared to some of these Big Ten outfits, and this is really where it starts. Let's see what this team's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake Fagnano probably said it best after O'Brien. He had made the point that Kinnick Stadium in Iowa is the one he really remembers, and the road game he really thinks of when someone asks him about road games and atmospheres on the road. It's a very big stadium. It's loud, too. There's no doubt that it's very loud with the capacity they can fit in there. And I think you're right. This is where it starts for this team. O'Brien keeps preaching it. This is the meat of their schedule coming up here. And it is. There's no doubt. You can say all the great things about the Virginias and the Ohios.
Well, you can't say anything good about Virginia. Virginia stinks.
Well, this is true. Yeah, this is true. But, he's been very, very coach speak-esque in a way about saying, this is what this team and this opponent provides, and maybe some weeks it was more fictitious than others, but this week I think it's for real. I think this Iowa team, as everyone knows, has always provided a very strong test for Penn State, especially in Kinnick on the road, and I think we'll get to see how Penn State adjusts to that. And I'm really interested in this idea that was right at the end of O'Brien's press conference, the fact that he maybe has a little bit of an edge with these night games since the NFL, they played a lot of them, and he sort of maybe has a better idea of how he wants to attack those in terms of meetings and free time and whatnot. So I'm curious to see how that plays out and what they end up doing in that regard.
Yeah, I asked him specifically how the schedule will go throughout the day for the players because it's tough. I mean, they're actually in Cedar Rapids, which is a good half hour. Excuse me, a little windy here. 40 minutes away from from Iowa City, and he didn't seem like he had it really dialed in there. Now, he may just have been, that may have been some gamesmanship with me, but it's like, yeah, well, we'll do meetings, we'll do walkthroughs, we'll do this, we'll do that. He obviously is used to this, and it's not as if these Penn State players, most of these guys have played night games, but it is going to be a little bit of a different dynamic sitting in that hotel room all day. Other stuff that kind of jumped out at you today, there wasn't a lot of, as you said, there wasn't a lot of breaking news, but he had some pretty good zinger lines, I thought.
Yeah, he did. He especially attacked the question about Twitter and Stephon Morris. Stephon Morris, for those of you unaware, tweeted last night that, please don't look past Iowa. We hate those guys. And O'Brien was asked about that, and he pretty much said, I hate Twitter, and pretty much referred to it as Tweeter, Facebook, his typical lines. But he definitely took a shot there. And I also found the part about Curtis Dukes today interesting. He was asked about Curtis Dukes' comments regarding wanting more carries and whether he'll go to the NFL or stay in State College next year. And O'Brien pretty smugly responded, it's a free country, and that Dukes is still practicing with the team. But if you see the recent depth chart, he's pretty much buried. He's fourth back now. So I don't think things are going to change much for Mr. Dukes.
Yeah, and you see, the thing is, I really don't think Bill O'Brien cares when these guys come out and open their mouths a little bit. What would you want Curtis Dukes to say? That he's, completely content not carrying the ball? I mean, of course he wants to play more. Now, the thing that we kind of hear about is that he still was kind of struggling to pick up the offense. There's no question about what this guy can do physically. I mean, if he's a beast. I mean, if you see him, he does. He gets out there on special teams. He's running around doing stuff. But to be a starting tailback or a guy who gets a lot of carries in this offense is very difficult because you have to know how to run the ball, where to go. Blocking assignments and all the different passing things. And that's, I think as the season goes along, we're going to see the running backs incorporated even more into the passing game. But getting back to O'Brien talking about, hey, it's a free country, I kind of like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he has this idea that, some of the things that this guy say he hears and some he doesn't, but every time he's presented with it, he gets that look on his face like, guys, I don't really, it doesn't bother me what they're saying. I think he takes a very simple approach to it in the sense that as long as it's not inflammatory, overly negative towards the team, towards players of the team, which we haven't seen any of yet, he just sort of has this hands-off approach, he usually laughs or at least grins as much as Bill O'Brien does when those questions present themselves. And yeah, I like the idea too. I don't think it hurts anyone. Like you said, what's Duke supposed to say? That he's completely happy with the role he has? No, I don't think anybody would be. And as for Stephon Morris, I think the idea there was we're not looking past this Iowa game, and I think that was probably what he was trying to get across, even though it may have came off as we hate Iowa or, however some people may have interpreted it.
See, I love Stephon Morris. He's a go-to guy for quotes, and obviously he's a go-to guy on Twitter. So, just to briefly recap, this won't be one of our longer ones because, clearly there wasn't quite as much to talk about. They're coming off the bye week. They thought Monday's practice was really good. We're talking to you Tuesday afternoon, so they haven't practiced Tuesday yet. Injury-wise, they seem to be about in as good a shape as they've been all year, and I think Bill O'Brien's probably knocking on wood. Strategy-wise, it's going to be a big physical game, or a physical game against a big physical, tough team at Iowa, which is, surprise, surprise, what we've always seen. And other than that, there's not a lot of huge news coming out of that. So with that, I think we're just going to wrap up and start getting ready for this week's game. For Greg Pickel, I'm Mark Brennan, FightOnState.com. We will see everybody next week.